What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Cookbook Chronicles. I'm excited because the Halloween season is upon us, which means that Dia de los Muertos is extremely close as well. So, we're going to do a little dining with the dead. We are going to actually be making two things out of this, and I want it to be pan de muerto, or bread of the dead, and maybe some little candy skulls or sugar cookie skulls. But we're going to do a quick tour of Dining with the Dead and go over a little bit of history of Dia de los Muertos, and it's going to be a great time. I hope you stick around. Enjoy! Pan de Muerto is a traditional bread made for the occasion of Dia de Muertos. It's often shaped into a round loaf with decorative bones on top to symbolize the cycle of life and death. The round shape is said to represent the circle of life, while the small ball on top symbolizes the skull. It's often flavored with orange blossom water, reflecting the connection to the Aztec ritual offerings to the gods. So, Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead. That is a deeply rooted Mexican tradition that honors the deceased. Its origins trace back to ancient Mesoamerican cultures, particularly Aztec, Maya, and other indigenous civilizations, who believed in a cyclical view of life and death. For these cultures, death was seen as a natural part of life's continuum, and they celebrated it with rituals, offerings, and respect for the departed. The Aztecs had a month-long festival to honor the Lady of the Dead, who presided over the underworld. These celebrations were held in what is now July or August, but were later synchronized with the Catholic traditions after the Spanish colonization. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they sought to integrate indigenous customs into the Catholic belief. Dia de Muertos was merged with All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, moving the celebration to November 1st and 2nd. The blending of these cultures created a unique tradition still celebrated today, where Catholic saints and indigenous spirits are honored side by side. In modern times, Dia de Muertos often includes vibrant altars or ofrendas, where families honor their ancestors with photos, favorite foods, candles, marigold flowers, and symbolic items like calaveras or sugar skulls. And it's also a great time for families to gather, remember loved ones, and welcome their spirits back into the world of the living. It's believed that on these days, the veil between the worlds is thin, and the dead can come visit their families. Now, with a little bit of this history, let's get to making the actual pan de muerto. As you've been watching, I'm currently making the bread dough, which is heavily inspired from Dining with the Dead cookbook, and also Rosetta restaurant, or their panaderia, which is in Mexico City. They do a rosemary and orange blossom scented dough, and I kind of wanted that herbaceous note, and rosemary and orange go really well together, so I kind of just took inspiration from that while making this dough. And from the thumbnail, you may be wondering what the black sugar was, or is, and that is ceniza de totomostle, or burnt corn husk sugar. So altogether, it would be called cenizas de totomostle para pan de muerto negro. With this recipe, you'll get 10 pan de muerto. They each weigh 80 grams, and the bones weigh 15 grams. Then the skull weighs about 10 grams. If I remember correctly, you'll see it come up on the scale because I recorded it. I'll also list everything in the description, so if you want to make these, you could do so. I allow these to rest in the refrigerator overnight. You don't have to, but I think they develop better flavor if you allow them to sit in the refrigerator overnight. This next step isn't necessary, and if you do this, please be very careful, especially if you're inside the house. I don't recommend you do this unless you have experience with using the blowtorch and toasting stuff very heavily in your house, but make sure you have a lid that fits snugly over your mixing bowl so that you could immediately extinguish the flame by covering it and cutting off the oxygen. But please be safe, have your fan going, open windows, and again, just have a metal lid or pan cover so you can extinguish the flame, as you'll see done here. Allow the burnt corn husks to cool, so this way you could crumple them up. Ash does get all over the place, so you just expect to clean. Again, you don't have to do this step, but using sugar is completely fine. Or if there's like another dry herb powder, or if you have like an orange zest powder that you want to use, feel free to do whatever seasoning you like, but plain sugar is just fine. For this next step, we'll be making the bones for topping the pan de muerto. For the bones, it took me a while to remember how to actually like make them, or I guess roll them, because I haven't made this bread in at least 8 to 10 years. So you'll see different shaped bones, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. No one is exactly the same. Everyone has bones, but they're all different sizes, maybe slight different shapes here and there. So if they don't look good, you could re-roll the dough and try again. But you'll see how my bones look a little bit later. Once you have all the bones rolled out, get that same piece of plastic wrap. You might need another as well to cover the bones so they don't dry out. Next step that you're going to be doing is making the skull. And I want to say that these weighed roughly 10 grams each, or maybe 8 grams each. I don't really remember. But if you get 10 pieces and they're all very equal looking, that's fine. Just roll them into nice little balls. Now, with the main balls of dough, if you put them in the refrigerator, pull them out 2 hours before you do this next step. This way they have time to proof and come to room temperature. If you didn't put them in the refrigerator, then after roughly about an hour or so, they probably proof just enough to do this next step, but you're going to brush butter over the top of these guys and then apply the bones 2 of each over the top, and then the skull in the center. And you're going to butter those as well. I'm going to let you know now that I did not allow these to proof long enough. It was a chilly day, so it should have taken them a little bit longer to get to where they needed to in terms of the right proof, or I guess double in size. One thing I did do, because I noticed that they weren't quite ready, is at this step I allowed them to rise or proof for another 30 minutes, and it still wasn't long enough. But again, it's fine. You live, you learn, and you try again. This is what they look like once they are out of the oven. They went in at 350 degrees and cooked for about 22 minutes. And the final step is brushing them with more melted butter and sprinkling over your sugar. Thanks again for watching. I'm still trying to get comfortable with showing face on camera, so, bear with me. I'll get better. And if you haven't yet, give it a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you.